Hello, this is the story of the Thomas Fire. 2017 in December, almost a year to the date from the time I'm recording this. Our little town of Ojai in the mountains of Southern California miraculously escaped complete extinction by only a miracle, as you'll see. I live in Ojai, which is about 15 miles off the coast, 75 miles northwest of LA. During the first day of the fire on Tuesday, it looked like the fire was going to completely come back and burn our town down. So I drove north on the 33, which is up north through our Los Padres mountains. And I passed this sign right here. And at that point, the north was clear and the south was burning up. Just a couple days later, that same sign I passed by looked like this as the north side blew up. Welcome to theultimatehouse.com. You might be wondering why a thing on the fire, but 1,000 structures burned in this particular fire. We also had a fire that year that burned 3,000 structures. This year had a fire that burned 18,000 structures. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. So the Thomas Fire, at the time it occurred last year, 2017, was the largest wildfire in California history, almost 300,000 acres. That was eclipsed this year by a fire up north, which was almost 500,000 acres. So this is my story from Ojai. Here's a shot of what our valley looked like looking north from the mountains on the south side. We have a valley which is a transverse valley, meaning it goes east-west. So this is looking straight north. Really looked like an atomic bomb went off. This is the city of Ventura, where in the first night the fire burned 15 miles from Santa Paula all the way to the coast and wiped out, I think, 500 homes. You can see these homes are all typical California subdivision homes, very close together. Once they start lighting up and the heat is high enough, they just go one after another. This is a satellite photo. I'm not sure how high the satellites are, but many, many miles. And you can see here is our fire, the Thomas Fire, and the incredible smoke, which fortunately went out to sea because it's pretty nasty when it sits in your community. You can also see this band here is actually clouds. There are a couple other fires going on at the same time, but the Thomas Fire was the big fire. Just for point of reference, here's LA and here's Ojai up here. We're about 75 miles northwest and, as I said, 15 miles up the coast. The fire started up here in Santa Paula. This is actually a satellite infrared radar photo, which shows, the red shows where fire has been in the last 24 hours, usually ongoing intense fire. The orange is the last 48 hours, and the yellow is greater than 48 hours. So the yellow means that it has already burned. So the first night it came down here. So December 4th, we had Santa Ana winds all day. Santa Ana winds are a strange condition that bring these really sometimes hurricane force winds and extremely dry conditions, hot, dry conditions, and have just sort of a spooky feel. So those have been going on all day, and we had a fire break out in Santa Paula. Here's Santa Paula, and the fire actually started up here in the hills, and the wind was coming from this direction and blew it down towards Ventura. Once again, here's Ojai, and this is Sulphur Mountain, which is to the south. It's about 2,500 feet. And then our Los Padres mountains up here and Sespe Wilderness. These mountains range from 4,500 to 5,500 feet. So quite a bit, twice as high as they are to the south. And here's our transverse valley running east-west. The phenomenon of the Santa Ana winds is when we have a high pressure either here in the Central Valley of California or out here to the west. High pressure here and a lower pressure on the ocean, and it forces all the air to come down through all the mountain valleys and out towards the ocean. So you get these incredible gusting winds. Monday night, after these big winds all day, we were actually also having a full moon, a super moon. You can see this glow here of the smoke and the moon. The fire was already underway in Santa Paula and heading towards Ventura. Now my house is just here on the north side of Ojai, above at the foot of these mountains, the 4,500 foot Nordhoff Peak, and just to the north of our city. Our city of Ojai is relatively small. It's only about 8,000 people, and it's sort of these borders. But the valley itself apparently has about 35,000 people, and includes communities of the upper East End, Thatcher School here, Miners Oaks, Miramonte, Oakview, and Casita Springs, famous home of Johnny Cash. Again, the fire started here, and that night between 5-6 p.m. when it started and the next morning, the fire literally raged along this northern side of Ventura up along the foothills right here and burned about 500 houses. Tuesday, December 5th. So the next morning I awoke. This was about 6 a.m. The sun was coming up. It was a crystal clear blue day. The winds were still howling 50, 60 miles an hour out of the north. So very clear skies except for the smoke from the fire to the south of us. So this is looking towards the east end. And I want to show you a little video of what it looks like. East end is on fire. And everything south of the mountain here has been lit all night long on this ridge. You can see the fire over the edge of the ridge to the south of us. As the day continued, this is a shot from my house looking south towards Sulphur Mountain, which is the 2,500 foot tall mountains. The wind was still howling from the north. As fire tends to, it went up the mountain from the south side, and we had these incredible orange, purple, black, roiling clouds, as you can see, as the fire just continued to burn on the south side. Eventually, despite the winds, the fire actually came up over the mountain. And you'll see that in the next video as it starts to crest and come down towards Ojai, despite, still fierce winds from the north. So at this point, the satellite infrared is giving us this picture. Fire starts up here and literally streaks down here overnight in Ventura, burning all these houses, and then continues all the way up that whole mountain ridge, all the way to the top of Sulphur Mountain, and then over into the Ojai side. So here's the satellite view. Again, fire starting here, slamming down here overnight, and then burning all the way up to this ridge here. Wind still cranking from the north, but this whole area is filled in as the fire actually starts to come on over here. And by the way, I have a friend who lives right in this area here. She woke up at 2 in the morning because a house below her, she heard an explosion, and she looked out the window to the house below her, downhill, which was on fire. And at that point, she hadn't heard a single siren. Nobody came and knocked on her door. She just got up and left along with all the other people. But the fire was moving so fast that there was really nobody around to help. No firemen, no police, nothing.